do everything on my own. So it requires a lot of support systems to be available for these people to go and talk to get other kind of technologies which will be of help for them to go and project the world that they are also using the best technologies available across the borders. That is important. And we know India is one of the countries, and there are few countries, I would say, producing or engaging good in aquaculture in a very big way. And we go whenever we go out, the first question always asks is what kind of pollution norms followed by the industries. So if you really want to satisfy the requirements of the people really who are looking at industries as a non-polluting or serving the people kind of organizations, it requires thinking in a different format. And second thing, if you really want to advance or go to the level of scaling, so scaling also requires some sort of support systems in terms of technology, be it whatever we call it as nowadays in terms of mechanical, electrical, electronics, engineering, mechatronics, or artificial intelligence, data science. So everything has a small part to play, or I would say nowadays, even you can put it in a different format saying that the biology has become small now than before all this kind of developments happening in the world. So if you, I don't want to stop in between you and the slides, what I have, I'll just try to share the slides also. So I have some 20, 30 slides, which will also give you little importance or little more information, how the world thinks, how the laboratories talk about interfacing the R&D institutions and technology sourcing by companies and what the academia can offer to the industries. But this is not much related to aquaculture, which you people are talking about, but this is more to do with general and other things. And if you see in the sustainable development goals, we all know, I hope, I just presume everybody know what is sustainable development goals put forth by United Nations, and all countries, states, or villages, or industries, or who are working on these areas are supposed to talk about sustainable development goals. And every organization, every political setup is supposed to identify on what sustainable development goals they are working and why they assume importance. And they have to, there are 17 goals, and every institution, every government is supposed to identify under which block, 17 blocks, under which block they are working. So I'm just giving a certain example. Here you can see achieving the sustainable development goals through science, technology, and innovation and collaboration. So the sustainable development goals of United Nations, again I'm reiterating, talks about collaborations, and for that collaborations, if you see the back-end operation, it is science, technology, innovation or invention, whatever we call it as, assumes more importance. So who does the science and technology? If you really see, there are the technology part, leave alone the technology part. If we talk about the science part is mostly engaged or done only by the academic institutions. So what these academic institutions do, if we really go further and talk, the academic institutions' job is to promote the students or the knowledge-based workforce for the industries. But it doesn't stop there. Since because the institutions are producing only the workforce, they can't say they are not doing science. The science is a basic part of all the higher educational institutions, and they are the faculties and the institutions and the students are supposed to come up with the science development, promoting science as a base. So next, after the science, the education from education to science to next level of the development, we call it as the scientific knowledge development. In this scientific science knowledge development, there are some areas already done by people which are rehearsed by the faculties and the students. So that means it's enacting something happened in the other parts of the world to suit to the expectations of the local conditions. This is what is done by people in different parts of the world and the academic institutions. Next level is little bit going further and trying to adjust the science to the level of taking that to application areas called the technology. And this also, we know all these things is happening in every institution, but there's a small thin line difference between the technology what is talked in the industries and the academic institutions. Most of the time, most of the processes or products or whatever we call it as developed in the academic institutions stop somewhere on the shelf. They don't go to the next levels. This purely because of the gap between the industry and academia, which is now being merged slowly by the world governments. India is also no different from that. And many countries also towing the line of merging this academia industry together, bring them together to come up with kind of solutions. That means effectively using the manpower for the scientific good or common good or societal good. So this technology also gets transformed into process and products that also at times become unique. That uniqueness is taken as part of the knowledge protection or intellectual property rights. And this intellectual property rights also do not give a kind of free will for people to say that tomorrow the technology or the IPR will be utilized, but only if it sees that kind of innovation. So how this knowledge is transformed into monetization activity, only that will give kind of development. Only those areas or those products or processes or the kind of science or the development happen in the scientific advancements which have the monetization ability will lead to collaborations. So this has been understood widely by the world government. That's why we see this here. And the partnership for goals, I talked about this. So the partnership for achieving the goals is more important for sustainable development of the world. And if we go down further, you can see this. We can see the technology sourcing, or the right side if you see industry, left side if you see academia. So the sourcing has to happen from some sides, mostly from the industry side to the academia, to academia side to the industry. And this right side industry can be a startup, it could be a small, micro, small, medium enterprise, or it could be a well-grown corporate or an R&D institution linked to corporates. All these things will come under the right side. So here the technology can be developed by the industry itself or can be sourced, or the industry can source the technology from other industries or small industries or from standalone research institutions or from the academia, and which includes identification of technological developments and facilitation of the sourcing of these technologies. These are two different parts. One is the identification. Yeah, I told you already, these things are happening in silos. Every institution does some activity under different projects, different scientific group, following different pathways of developing their own process and products. But this is not going to the world and reaching to the masses saying that this X, Y, Z institution is engaging themselves in development of technologies or processes. So the most important thing is the identification of right technological developments, and second one is facilitation of the sourcing of the technology. So industries always are the kind of corporate houses or the business houses follow this technological scouting, technological intelligence, and technological management, all these things. So you can see in this process, these are the things you can see: scouts identify and assess new technologies, provisioning of technology intelligence to facilitate the technology management, and scouts facilitate the sourcing of the technology. One is identification, the second one is sourcing, the third one is management. So all these things inter alia used by the organizations to find the right partners and right processes and products for them to go to next level. So next, if you see the technology facilitation mechanism also talked about by the Sustainable Development Goals. So the mechanism facilitates multi-stakeholder collaboration and partnership through sharing of information, experiences, and best practices and policy advice among member states, civil society, the private sector, the scientific community, United Nations entities, and other stakeholders. That means we are not alone. Now we talk global. So it is not one small laboratory transferring this technology or facilitating this to other industries or other organizations. Now we talk about technology transfer across borders. That's what I told earlier also in the Chandrayaan mission. India had collaborations, many other. Though we talk about Atmanirbhar, we had many technologies outsourced from different areas. And even in our conditions, we know very well how we are in the aquaculture also. We know how the brood stocks are transported from across the borders to Indian conditions to grow them. And we use different technologies for hatcheries and also for other purposes, right, to come up with a wonderful crop so that it can be preserved and transported to again other countries again for making money. So the innovation is somewhere lying in between all these areas. So we will discuss in a different platform, but of course this technology facilitation mechanism also plays a major role in this process. Next, if you see, we need to really look into, if you are really talking about technology sourcing or interfacing or utilizing, whatever we call it as, whose problem, the question we have to address is whose problem we are solving. If at all we talk about, the problem is to be of the society. So I've been emphasizing, and wherever we go, we have to talk about this society. After all, we are all part of the society, and we as part of the society, we try to acquire knowledge or try to acquire strength and use the science to come up with a technology for giving solutions for the kind of problems faced by the society. So if you see this, next, coming to as part of this, as correlated to that, society waste problem identification and solution provisioning, the innovation for inclusive and sustainable development has to be addressed properly. So that means the inclusive and sustainable development means it has to be sustainable across the globe. And second thing, it should be inclusive, means it should serve the purpose of the particular locality. It's also important. So whether the thing is, if you put it in a different parlance, the technology which may or may not work in one particular area may be working in other part of the world also. So which may be sitting in the shelf in one part of the world can be utilized profusely by people in other parts of the world. So the inclusivity is also important, embracing everybody in the ecosystem so that all gets benefit out of this innovation for the sustainable development process. Then you can see, if you break down all these things, you can see the first part, technology to address economic, social, environmental challenges. So we talk about ESG, right? So economic is important, society is important, environment is important. That means the sustainability also talks about preserving the present conditions for the future generations. So we cannot, at the cost of the human development or the satiating the, expectations of the present population, 800 crore or 145 crores of the country. We cannot just like that say we are polluting the entire environment and finally leaving the, the worst ecosystem for the next generation. We can't say that. And second thing, economic benefit. Everybody participating in this process should economically benefit out of the technological use. The third one, if you see, the social is also important. That means embracing all people in the ecosystem. There are a lot of examples in aquaculture also, in aquaculture related areas also. We can discuss in the later part or later whenever we get chances. So next one is sustainable technological solutions for local problems. Already told about that. So the kind of solutions should be locally useful. That is important. The emphasis on green and climate-friendly technologies. This is what the world also talks about. And specifically in aquaculture, we talk about the use of feeds, the use of the wastewaters, and how we can recycle the wastewaters, how we can purify the wastewaters related to the open ecosystem, so that most of the aquaculture industries lying in the coastal areas will not pollute the maritime ecosystem, so that maritime also be happy and people living in the maritime ecosystem also be happy with the kind of developments. Even there are kind of acquisitions from the different corners saying that at the cost of aquaculture is also getting dominance. So how are you going to have a balance? How the governments are going to balance? How people are going to balance? All these things also assumes important. The next point is affordability and accessibility of the technologies to reduce technology inequality. Most of the time, what happens, the big houses or the big organizations, at times they may be good at technologies which may not be able to be accessed or utilized by the organization at the lower ebb of the development. So this affordability and accessibility of technologies also assumes importance, so that everybody gets benefit out of using the technologies. So here the management guru from India, C.K. Prahlad, assumes importance where he talked about bottom of the pyramid. I mean, it is not that producing it only for the few group of people or for particular group of people. Instead, how the technology can benefit people at the bottom of the pyramid. But only in the bottom, if you see a pyramid, the major population you can see only in the bottom, not in the upper cone area. So how this technology or the interventions can serve the people at the bottom of the pyramid area. So that's another thing we need to look into. The last one, you can see the innovation through collaboration, multiple stakeholders. So this is also important tomorrow to say that we have come up with a wonderful, robust, inclusive interventions that benefited all. How the university ecosystem can benefit their students, industry can benefit their employees, how benefit can government can benefit their civil society and the society community at large. All these things has to be addressed to this, but if you see, this is another recent a publication I have taken from the Sustainability Journal. You can see this, the impact of global megatrends, which talk about this 8 global megatrends. This is where the world is also moving towards. And all companies, all industries, all interventions, whatever we do has to fall into this 8 different classifications broadly. So you can see this impact of global megatrends, COVID-19 in digital economy on professional career management transformation in Asian countries, but it holds good for the entire globe also. I don't want to go much deeper into this area, but you can get all these things from this publication, Bang et al. But I'm just giving this information. The 8 points are laid out. One is accelerated urbanization has to be addressed. You know, the world is moving towards urbanization, and we have to go for de-urbanization also at one point of time. That means how the society, urban development, the population all can get balanced. How do we address this? The next ones, innovation, technological breakthroughs are very much important every day, every moment. The world is also moving faster to address from different laboratories and different ecosystems to cater to the needs of the industries. The third, if you see, the change in the consumer preferences. How do we address the change in the consumer preferences? So this is another area one has to look into. The fourth one, increase in the average age of population in developed countries, and also in developing countries, I would say, I don't want to leave out the developing countries also. The increasing age also increases the preference in the consumer food part or consumer parts. So how do we address all these people to help them live happily? The next fifth one is increasing the environment friendliness of the production. So we need to give importance to environmental, climate resilient technologies so that we leave this world sustainably for the next generation. This kith and kin of this urbanization is the one we can talk about. The sixth, population growth in the countries. And the seventh one is seems more important. At the cost of the population growth, we cannot deprive the nature of this resources, and there cannot be a natural scarcity, so that we try to utilize judiciously. And of course, this is more important, the business globalization. It means we can't say that India can insulate or any country insulate itself from the global opening of the borders. Tomorrow, any company, any business house can go across the country, world, and set up the business houses. So everyone should prepare themselves to take this onslaught or to take this in the right sense. Right. Next one is the OECD kind of thing. You can see here the OECD talks about the future of science, technology, innovation. These are all the areas the world governments, world institutions, world academics are supposed to spend more time on this. Of course, this is almost related to the last slide, but still it holds good. The one is the demography of the area. The second one is the globalization we have to keep in mind. And the third one is the climate change and the environment, natural resource utilization, and optimized natural utilization, and green energy assumes important, and health, equality, and well-being of the society assumes the next importance. And with the kind of population growing, we can see the world also has to provide jobs for the people, and also with the kind of optimization of productivity and maintaining the robust economy. And for all these things, the roles of governments also play a major role. Only these governments can decide. That is why the UN also came up with this kind of policies, right? So who can do all these things? Again, I'm coming back to my the world discussion point. The enabling ecosystem is the education institutions. The education institutions has to take the community as partners and students as the players. I'm not singling out the faculties from the education institution. All those working for the education institutions as faculties are part of that, and taking the new generation, younger generation, as part of their parts, the partners to solve the community's problems. That's why I brought this community-oriented research for development and sustainability. So this have resumes important. And if you see again the collaboration for action. So here I brought in one more area called the project teams. The project teams you can see part from played by the faculties and students with the education institutions where they do research and come up with the action points to serve the community. So I have brought in here the community, brought in the community here purely to say they are not different from who we are. So they are part of us. So everybody has to be taken into account. Education should play a major role in coming up with the research and finally the action to take it to the society. And next, the roles and outcome you can see here, mostly it's development programs and projects. For students, it's a knowledge enhancement, interpersonal relationship, idea and technology validation, and coming up with a minimum viable product. And for community, it's more of better living, livelihood, clean environment, reduced drudgery. And little if you go down further, you can see the interfacing here between the students and educational institutions talk about the knowledge, attitudes, and aspirations, whereas the students and communities mostly interacting because students are from the community, the interaction with the community has to be more closer so that they can solve the issues of the problems faced by the community at large. These people are the eyes and ears of the community so that they can work with the institutions to come up with results. And here, if you talk about the education institutions and community, mostly to serve the community with the knowledge created in the education institutions through the intellectual property, publications, monographs, and the technologies developed by the institutions. So everybody has their own linkages and relationships so that they achieve the best experiential learning so that everybody gets benefit out of this. And next, I'm giving little more, the following 3 slides talk about, I'm just deviating from the other slides. Again, we will go back to the academy, why academia is important. But here you can see the global private R&D sector spending as share of EBITDA. You can see by the industry level, you can see where the companies spend. You can see pharma and medical products, the world with the kind of pollutions and the problems, the world governments and world companies, they are spending a lot on pharma, and high-tech media and telecom forms second, automotive assembly third, consumer products fourth, industrials fifth, and then all these things assumes as part of the development and R&D sector. This will give you a little more information about the private R&D sector investments by industry. You can see here again, the same thing you can see here, right? Pharma, high-tech, automotive, consumers, industrials, all the one by one you can see coming here. Why I'm bringing this slide is to say this is where the world concentration is also. That means we also should somewhere toe the line of this to come up with kind of solutions. And you can see this slide also give you the companies can set the directions of their R&D strategies by answering a series of questions about how components fit together. But this is a title. But if you can see here, the strategy is something here. But how do we divide these battlegrounds into small blocks? And again, for these battlegrounds, how the solutions are brought and how these R&D capabilities are linked. You can see the complexity also goes up like here, like anything, right? And the R&D capabilities also have to toe the line of or linked to the technologies, talents, and assets of the people, right, who are there. And finally, the enablers. If you really address all these things, this becomes more easier. The identification of enablers also lead to kind of solving the issues. That's why I brought this. You can easily find out the R&D capabilities form the major blocks here that only lead to the solutions through the technologies, talents, and assets. So this three blocks assumes more important to solve the issues of any kind of direction set for R&D development. So the students and the faculties can be, I'm just trying to give enablers are the students and faculties are their knowledge-based workers or knowledge-based scientists, the technologists, right? The experts form part of all this developmental ecosystem. And coming back to the requirement of academia or university industry interfacing is all we discussed, but why would universities and industries collaborate? This question can be answered by these five answers. Better potential for societal impact, better student opportunities and outcomes, increased funding opportunities for this kind of research development proposals, economic development potential, and utilize government programs for funding. So these are the things given by different people from across the borders. These are the five answers. So we can even, as a people from academia, mostly we can see this also holds good. And next, if you see the networking in the triple helix, this is something from Asia and Pacific Center for Technology, Transfer of Technology of UN, right? You can see here the relationship between government, university, and industry. The government is more related to policies, incentives, regulatory regimes, the industrial climate, and permissions. And I can see here from the industry side, you can see more of suppliers, customers, competitors, associations, venture capital, service providers, angels, banks, all facilitators will come under this category. And in university category, you can see more of researchers, laboratories, and technology transfer organizations, and business incubators, spin-offs, startups, training centers, all these things. If you are really, involved in this kind of ecosystem, easily understand the clear demarcation of where we are and how these can be linked together. So this is a framework given by this APCTTT. And next, you can see this here. Sorry, I'm going a little faster. The university industry linkages is very much here. The Stanford, Purdue, MIT, and Cambridge have successfully established these linkages. And this is not new. This is a very old development happened. We have seen also how they can go seamlessly together to solve the kind of problems and also come up with wonderful linkages. On the left, you can see university, right side, you can see the investors and how they get support and how the transformation also happens. So I'm not spending much time here. And here you can see, this is important. The transformation happens, you can see from the universities to laboratories to industry. Again, I'm not spending much time, but the level of effort you can see put in discoveries here, it's very much up. But once the technology, once the science goes to the level of technology to the maturation levels, how the others also coming into play. Discovery to development to system testing to demonstration to commercialization. So you can see the involvement of universities up to what level and how the laboratories can, university also can be a laboratories, but the standalone, because from university students move to laboratories, right? From this laboratory, the students also move to industries, and slowly you can see this diminishing role of the universities up to this level and how the industry take over to next levels. So the triple helix model of innovation also talks about this maturation processes. And this is a very new publication from Technovation, recent publication. This talks about 3 pointers of research and development for growth boosting sustainable innovation ecosystem, Sarpang et al. This talks about 3 different things. One is investing in talent, R&D investments, and learning institutions. Again, they broke down into propositions 1, proposition 2, proposition 3. This is more related to, if you see this, every compartment, every block talks about the proposition related to that. If it is investing in talent, aligning R&D investment with the expansion of talent pools and scientific cadres to cater to the develop the eco-innovation that are proximate to industry needs. The second one, enriching absorbing capacity enhances development of eco-innovation concepts. The proposition 2 in R&D investments talks about ability to develop groundbreaking innovations. The second one, integrating scientific knowledge with innovation target. The learning institutions, mostly the entrepreneur universities. Next slide will give you a little more information about that. A synergy between the R&D investment and the capacity and expansion of entrepreneur universities, catalyzing the impact-oriented, sustainability-driven research. And proposition 3B talks about nurturing entrepreneurial scientists to consolidate and accelerate the development of affordable eco-innovations, outputs that provide widespread economic growth. The last one assumes importance, especially the entrepreneurial eco-universities. The teaching ecosystems slowly are getting transformed to entrepreneurial ecosystems. You can see now the university is also giving more importance to promotion of entrepreneurship and also innovations, technology development, intellectual property protection, and then talking about promotion of more entrepreneurs. You can see here the 3 pointers of development. Already we discussed about that, but I will go to the next level. You can see this entrepreneurial university that bridges the valley of death innovation, so that the incubation happens in the incubators of the universities itself. The students seamlessly move from or work closely with the startups or industries in the business incubation ecosystem, so that there will not be any issues when they move out to next levels or the industry moves out to next levels. So this entrepreneur universities also act as a growth boosting sustainable innovation hubs, so that they catalyze the experiential research, nurture entrepreneurial scientists, so that every professors or the scientists working in the university ecosystem becomes an entrepreneurial scientist, and they integrate the scientific knowledge with innovation target. So the one most of the time what people talk about innovation is wrongly understand innovation is a scientific advancement. It is nothing but innovation is something different. You have to understand from a different perspective. Innovation has something to do with commercialization. So whatever scientist rigors in the laboratory has to see the light at the end of the tunnel by making it commercial. This is what it talks about. So innovation has to be nurtured. So these universities act as a growth boosting sustainable innovation hubs, so that not only they build the scientific R&D investment infrastructure, but also they invest in the scientific cadres with absorptive capacity to move next levels. So next comes, you can see here, this can be seen from 3 perspectives. One is the first perspective is the core competency of the industries. Second one is the motivation of R&D outsourcing, and the third, the transaction cost analysis. Third perspective of notion of cost advantages. That means this mostly talks about why industries outsource some of the R&D areas, or the source the R&D, our research and development, or innovations or technologies from the academic ecosystems. This has something to do with the earlier one, right? You can see here, you can see here entrepreneurial universities. So these entrepreneurial universities can be a wonderful hubs for the R&D organizations, larger business houses or companies to invest in the R&D outsourcing, the transaction cost analysis, and I don't know, it skips very fast. Sorry. So this publication talks about the determinants and consequences. This is a little old publication, but it still holds good. You can see the blocks on the left side, 3 blocks, on the right, the 4 and 5 blocks. All these things talks about technology, complementarity, codification, competency, and that has something relevance to development costs and financial profits. So we need to take all these things into account when we go for sourcing. And of course, in the sourcing, these two plays a major role. The 1, 2, and 3 blocks we can see. Low technology codification, low competency. High technology codification, low technology competency. And low technological codification, high technology competency. So which block is more important for one to really go for sourcing or outsourcing? If it is a R&D sourcing, you can see these blocks here. If it's outsourcing, you can see these blocks here. So that which one assumes importance, it all depends on the industry and the kind of maturity of the technology. So here, this can be easily understood from these determinants. Low codification, technological codification, technology competency forms the first block. You can see here, low technology codification, low technology competency. That means this is a high development cost and low financial profits. But you can see here, high development cost, low financial profits. These two almost you can see here. But in this area, low development costs, medium financial profits, high development costs, high financial profits. That means this is more of a area where people can venture just like that and try to get reap the benefits. But it's also risky, and you can pack in different models. But I don't want to go into that area. But this publication happened in 2000, even before other publications talks about this technology sourcing partnership, especially the sourcing performance, attainment of the objectives, capability development, estimated return on investments. So these are all the things that plays a major role in sourcing of the technologies. So what is that? Why we are sourcing this technology from outside ecosystem or develop internally? All packs into 3 areas. One is the objective achievement. The second one is the capability development of the people working in the organization. And third one is estimated return on investment. What is that we are going to get after getting this technology or developing this technology? So if you address this, these things will form part of this technology attributes and interdependence. All these things will become part of that. And of course, I'm not going much deeper in this area. Sorry. These are all part and parcel of the technological development processes, so I'm not touching this. But again, I'm going into this publication of Iyer et al. 2014, where the role of industry academia interface filling the skill gap. So this also assumes important. Who will do what? This talks about only about that. You can see this in the student level, the technical skills, lateral thinking skills, understanding of the system dynamics, preparing the project deliverables, highly trained individuals, innovative ideas, all these things form part of this block. And academia, already we discussed this, but still it has to be addressed, and this academia can address the industry professionals, the relevance into research, and also counseling, collaborations, creative thinking process, setting the creative thinking process, and also the form the platform for the fundamental research. Of course, industry can supervise the projects and train the students and support the academia through this finances and other support systems, and also share their resources, and also bring in the other partners to take the projects or the programs or the technologies forward to next level. Now this slide, of course, this is the last but one slide I presume. You can do what is the framework of activities that can extend the relationship between academia and industry. The most important one is the planning. What is that we are going to do with others or the partners? The planning is important. The second one is analysis and setting the specifications or writing down the specifications are important. Third one is design and review the specifications, and then implementation of the feedback or rework, and come up with the wonderful collaboration for developing the technologies or acquiring the technologies. Of course, I am not going deeper in this area, academia industry collaboration, but the most important one is the 2 blocks. The second block, the finalized collaboration agreement. So these the contracts or the loyalty agreements or the MOUs forms a major part in technology transfer process or technology acquisition process or outsourcing process. This, of course, forms part of the all models. I am not going deeper. So we need to keep this in mind whenever we talk about this perfect collaborations. And again, you can see this, the academia industry collaboration can be for all these things: open-ended, knowledge transfer, information sharing, acceptance testing, and creative type activities. But of course, the relationship can be here between the startup incubators and human resource department of the institutions, which can give a perfect collaboration opportunities. And again, this is from a different publication I have taken that gives you a little more understanding about the university industry relationship. So on the left side, you can see this. These are all the areas: the partnership, services, academic entrepreneurship, human resource transfer, informal interactions among the communities, I mean, the two different partners, and commercialization of the property rights and scientific publications. So these are all the areas where one can see a kind of perfect partnership. One is either it could be a publication that talking about the advancement that happened in the science and technology area. The second one is knowledge protection and commercialization. The third one is the seamless interaction between the academic partners, students, and the industries. The fourth one is the human resource transfer, where students can seamlessly move from this system to that system. And of course, this one is also assuming importance nowadays, talking about academic entrepreneurship. So this is the last slide. The impact of cross-border, this is another publication I would say, this is taken again from Sustainability 2021. The impact of this talks about impact of cross-border R&D sourcing on the innovation quality of MNCs from perspective of business model innovation. The only thing we need to see here is R&D intensity has a significant inverted U-shaped relationship with innovation and quality. The diversity has significant negative linear relationship with innovation quality, and absorptive capacity and institutional distance each have a moderating effect on the relationship. So this means the R&D intensity has a significant inverted U-shaped relationship with the innovation quality. So the innovation plays a major role in the relationship between the two organizations. The second one talks about the diversity has a significant linear relationship with innovation quality. Again, you can see this here. The intensity, the diversity that plays a major role in the absorptive capacity and the institutional distance, and each have a moderating effect on the relationship. Unless otherwise there is an intensity and diversity, there cannot be a perfect relationship. This is what it talks about. So with this stop, if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you so much for the patience, and I'll be happy to answer any questions if at all somebody has. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Participants, do you have any questions?
At times, this will be a very dry subject, and also this falls exactly in the, lunchtime. So at times people may have difficulty in even assuming, absorbing this also. But I'll be happy if there are any questions. I'll be happy to answer.
I think there is no questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful session, sir. It's an information-packed session.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Participants, tomorrow we will not have any sessions Sunday. Monday, we will share you the schedule of the sessions. You may leave the meeting now. Thank you. Sir, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Nice.